Welcome to Creative Conversations. I'm Roger Humphrey. In this episode, I'm pleased to welcome Nashville songwriter and producer Mark Oliverius. Please join us as we talk about working in Nashville, his latest projects, and much, much more. Before we get started, please take a quick second and hit the subscribe or follow button. It's easy to do, and it really helps out the channel a lot. Thank you. And we are welcoming Nashville songwriter and producer Mark Oliverius, an old buddy of mine. Hey, Mark, good to see you again.
Raj, how are you, sir?
I am terrific. Thank you. I was thinking about this the other day. I started this podcast 5 years ago, and you were my very first guest. It's been a long haul.
I'm honored. And you're still rocking.
Yeah. Well,
don't tell me I'm going to be your last guest.
No. I got stuff to do and people to annoy.
I know you do.
So now you and I go back a minute or two anyway. So how long have you been in Nashville now? It's got to be close to 40 years.
Yeah, I moved in 84, beginning of 84.
Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah.
Good call.
So 40 on it.
Wow.
Sorry, the math is a little...
you get to our age, you have to start counting on your fingers and toes.
You count off 1, 2, 3, 4 and start the song, and that's as far as I get anymore, Raj.
That's
it. That's all I got. 4. I got 4, yeah.
That's funny. Well, I know that you and I have had a hard time connecting to do this interview, just because of schedules, yours and mine. It sounds like Nashville is pretty much back from the dead. I mean, COVID is over, and you guys are busy again.
Yeah, COVID was over here when it was on. I mean, it was COVID schmovid. I mean, the downtown was ripping, and guys took precautions and stuff. But yeah, Nashville it's heavy. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of action here in town, and not just music. Again, I think I've said that to you on our first interview. We've got the best creatives in the world here. I know, so does LA, so does New York, so does a big city but the pocket I think the beauty of Nashville is within 40 square miles or 30 or 20, you've got just this unbelievable number of great creatives jammed into that. You're not traveling long distances to do work with people. Of course, there's the internet anyway, but yeah, it's an amazing town. It's an amazing city, and it's on fire. It's been 100 people a day, Raj, moving in, 100 a day.
Holy mackerel!
100 a day. It's been that way for the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, I mean, that's tough on the infrastructure. It's tough on the residents. All of a sudden, a year later, traffic is twice as bad as it was, and
right,
and trying to buy groceries is more difficult, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So that gets kind of tough. So you're busy doing quite a bit of stuff. You're doing a lot of session work.
Well, yeah, my session work is producing. I have a record label now, Big Timber Entertainment, with a great partner, Troy Brown. We've been in business 2 years, and so I've been working on 2 different records. One for me, our 2 artists, Mia Brown, and then Mia's more of a pop artist, and Timothy James, who is a Nashville killer. He's a killer writer, and he's very. His voice is great. He fits in that Jason Aldean, Brantley Gilbert, Morgan Wallen.
Gotcha.
Hardy. He comes into that edgy kind of a country thing, and he's very gifted writer, young writer. He's very good right now. He's going to be one of the greats soon. And we got 6 tunes. Well, 5. I've got number 6 is being mixed right now. So we've got more than half of the record done. And and then we have shows. We've been into 2 theaters now up in Michigan, Upper Michigan. And so I building shows around him, build shows around Mia. I mean, I build shows. That's one of the things I do. And with the help of my wife, Candace, she's a great creative as well. And but yeah, producing, I do a ton of demos here at my place, but then I do records. It's a hybrid way of working, Raj. It used to be, I've done 200 or 300 projects of, in a room, in a studio with 5 guys, but about 8 years ago, I just said, man, I'm going to get into this hybrid way of working where, drums, and I have the best drummers in Nashville working on my stuff, Lonnie Wilson and Eddie Bayers and Sean Fichter and Brian Fullen and Wes Little, all these guys who are just absolute slayers. But then you go, okay, well, the engineer is going to replace the sound with some, it's like so to me, it's like, okay, I'm just going to program. I'm just going to, and I've been programming for 25, 30 years now. And so I just have this hybrid way of doing it where the rhythm section is programmed and rocking, but still gets an acoustic sound, or it can be the pop sound. It doesn't matter, I work with great engineers who are cross-platform guys that are programmers and also play great guitars and great wood, great bass or whatever. So we have a combination of the sounds going on. So there's that, there's that aspect of it, management aspect of it with these artists. And then I'm out on the road with a couple other groups, one called the Hitmen of Country, where I'm the host and it's booked out of New York. We have a bunch of sidemen who have played with everyone from Keith Urban to Toby Keith to, Boz Skaggs to whatever. And we go out and we do hits. We talk about the behind the scenes, and we do hits. We do the hits, bang, 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 and with no rehearsal, of course. You just go and you go show up on the airplane, have a good sound check, and off to the races. But that's just a lot among, and then, we've got the label. We've got a new offering with the label with Big Timber Entertainment. My partner Troy's he's a great businessman. He's a world-class businessman, and through his side of the expertise, we're offering a type of it's a bookkeeping. It's called Music Business Management Services, and we're offering, monthly bookkeeping and accounting services to these artists who can't afford the top tier business managers in town, because you're talking 5% of the gross for these guys and gals, because they're coming out of buildings. They're in their ivory towers, so we don't need that kind of overhead. Troy handles that with his team. And so, yeah, lots of stuff going on, Raj. Lots of stuff, making phone calls on, making connections, just trying to connect and be creative at the same time and keep my wife happy.
So you're booking shows. We're in summertime now. You still like fairs and festivals and things like that. Is that still part of the package? Is that still some of the stuff you book?
Well, I've booked it before. I mean, I don't have a booking agency, but I know everybody. I mean, sure. I know pretty much, between the Nashville-based agencies and just for fairs, especially some of the agencies around the country that I've worked with over the years since 84, 85, I mean, I just always made it a point, Raj, to meet as many guys and gals as I could, and have a Rolodex of them and stay in touch with them, you know? So,
I yeah, I totally get that. I just didn't know if that was that used to be a big thing in the country circuit at one time, and I didn't know if it still was or not.
oh,
I'm
fairs are huge, man. I mean, there's soft ticket sales. You don't have to worry about selling hard tickets. You can come in and I mean, it's huge for a country, but Cheap Trick will do as many as you throw at them, you
oh, is that
know,
right?
or REO Speedwagon. So, I mean, it's a good venue. It's a good place to work, you know. And so
Well, what
yeah.
about?
And did I mention I the beer part of the aspect? I try to stay properly hydrated at times, and that involves, a little bit of beer sometimes. It's good for the brains, I think.
Spoken like a native Youper. So
Youper, you're right. Don't tell them that. Don't tell your audience that about the Youper.
that's funny. So when you're putting together your shows and such, is Ticketmaster and that kind of stuff, is that stuff that you have to
No,
deal with? That's
no, it's not there. It's not that level. It's
okay.
theater shows and smaller shows, and hopefully someday it'll be a
Uh
Ticketmaster
huh.
involvement. Um, no, usually it's self-contained theaters that have their own infrastructure. We do help them. We always provide branding of videos. Okay, I got to tell you, here's a little aside. I left this part out. About 8 years ago, 9 years ago, Candy and I were in town and on our way to see my mom, and we stopped and I went through. Mark Miller and I worked from Harvest. Mark and I were we stayed, and that Mark was my first studio partner. Really, we stayed buried in this basement of his buddy that we had an 8-track Tascam, and I'd play the piano and the keys, and he'd play the guitar and the bass. I play bass and keys. He'd play guitar and drums, and we stayed in the write and record. And so we moved into Harvest, and we worked on that Showdown record, and which of course one of the best bands in Michigan, right there, world class band right there in the U.S. Put it that way. Showdown. If you get a chance to hear Showdown, go hear them. So about 8 years ago, we swang back through, and we went through the studio, his studios out there. It's what on off of
Well,
Logan or something.
last time I was at his studios on South Cedar, but it could be.
South Cedar. Okay. Well, I don't know if this is the old PTA building from the city of Lansing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's like a Mad Men feel. And Mark said, he said, we did so much music, but it's always at the tail end of the project, because the shooting, all the video is on the front end. So they got some shooters going, and I thought, I'm going to get some cameras and learn how to shoot. So yeah, about 10 years in, I got cameras, learned how to shoot and edit, and probably 400 videos in. And, but I've got a team of shooters. We're going to do a music video next week, as a matter of fact, another one. So done commercials and stuff like that. That's another part of the production company that I have to offer, and of course the songwriting and everything else. But
Well, it's like all of us. We all do like like a million different things. It's not like the old days where you could do one thing and that's all you needed to do all day long. And those days are long gone. So
yeah,
there's
I want to know about you flying that F-15. Is that what you flew as a Strike Eagle?
who
What did
me?
you fly? Yeah,
I never flew.
you didn't fly.
No.
Who was telling me they went from Sault Ste. Marie down to Detroit in
Oh,
15 minutes?
that was me. That was in an F-106. Uh,
Okay, an F-106.
yeah, yeah. That was good God. That was back when I had hair, dude.
Yeah. Apparently my memory's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Better than mine. Just leave that Prevagen alone.
Prevagen. Unless Prevagen comes in a can, I don't know. It doesn't come in a can at 9% alcohol, does
That's funny. Well,
it?
in this day and age, it's something else I got to ask about. Well, before we go too much further into that, do you have any opinions on this whole Ticketmaster kerfluffle? I mean, Congress getting involved in it and all of this nonsense.
You know, it there's I mean, Ticketmaster is obviously serving the needs of these artists. I
Yeah.
don't know too much about, I don't know what the latest kerfuffle is because I don't have time to study kerfuffles. But, um, you know, Ticketmaster is serving the artists. I don't know what kind of percent they're taking off the top, but I mean, the prices of concerts are insane. That's for sure. So obviously, but everybody's labor is pushed up, man. Everybody's labor has been pushed to the top, and that's why I was blessed to work with Mickey Gilley. He was my first artist, and he was hot at that point, you know. And I mean, we toured all over the world actually, and he had two buses, a tractor trailer, and an airplane. He was a great pilot, and yeah, our road manager was a great pilot. So we had a King Air. The band would fly, band would spend the night, crew would go on, and we'd fly the next morning to our next dates. And but we were through Canada. We were doing a month long from we started in Medicine Hat, Alberta, far west, and went all the way out to Prince Edward Island on the east. You know, we were Newfoundland and everywhere else, but PEI, I think we ended up there. But the promoter was, I mean, we're doing hockey arenas, and the promoter was having good nights, and then he was having rough nights, you know, because Gilly was at the time booking at 20 grand, 20th a show. That was in '84, and of course the Canadian, the exchange rate and everything, I'm sure had something to do with it. But Gilly just he told me, he said, I cut the rate, cut it down to 12 so he could make money, so he could stay alive. And Gilly was all about the promoters staying alive to fight another day. Take care of the promoters. They're going to book you. They're going to bring you back. It's worth it to make them survive. And so that's been my view of the whole thing. I don't know really this Ticketmaster thing, but these artists coming out of the gate with a hit and all of a sudden coming in at $75,000 for a show or $100,000 for a show with one hit. It's just accelerating into crazy land.
Good work if you can get it, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean,
it can't keep going forever. I don't think personally. I could be wrong. So, Lord knows I have been a lot recently. So. I also, gosh, within the last year and a half, all of a sudden we're hearing about artificial intelligence all over the place.
yeah.
And I know there are AI services, and I mean, I've seen and read about some songs that are written and recorded all with artificial intelligence, and you listen to them and they're okay, you know. But I'm wondering if that's going to dilute the product out of coming out of Nashville and LA
Yeah.
and whatever.
Well, I mean, Randy Travis, this last single of Randy Travis is I mean, I haven't even heard the thing because I read about it. I don't even listen. I don't have time to listen to music, Raj. But, you know, so they took his voice. They had a guy. I don't know. My understanding is they had a guy who was got his inflections zeroed in. I talked to some of the guys in his band and friends of mine, and they threw AI on it or whatever, and so it's essentially a Randy Travis record, even though the guy can't sing, can't he's
Well,
He's
I think
incapacitated right now.
60 Minutes did a special on it. Excuse me, I got dry here all of a sudden. 60 Minutes did a thing on it, and they talked to Randy Travis, and they talked to his wife, and the other people who were involved in the project. And the interesting thing was they had it all dialed in, and it sounds like Randy Travis. I mean, it's really good. And Randy likes it. His wife likes it. Everybody that knows him really likes it. It's just come out, and it's just a nice Randy Travis song. And they went to do it with another song, and it tanked. They couldn't get anywhere. So they got the first one dialed in, couldn't find it on the second one. Same everybody, same everything.
Yeah.
And so it's obviously got its flaws. But yeah, there was Rick Beato. Do you know who he is? A record producer.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of
I
his
saw
videos.
one, and he did a thing about it. And recently I was watching one of his videos, and he said that he was listening to a song that was by it was all AI, and he said it, and he played the song. And he says, "Sounds pretty good." And he says, but his kids walked in while he was listening, and they immediately went, "Why are you listening to that AI soft stuff?" I mean, they picked up on it like that. And so he said they're hearing stuff in the voices that he's not hearing. So I didn't know if that was any kind of an issue there or not.
I don't know. I mean, you know what? Ultimately, ultimately, it's a live world. It's a live. That's where the rubber hits the road. Is you better be able to get on that stage and tear it to pieces.
Right.
And that's where it's at. To me, that's where music is at. You know, the music has been so devalued by the streaming and everything else, and writers can't make what they made in town before, and it's just. But because of that, when there's issues, there's opportunity in other areas. So you just have to try to get ahead of the stream. You know, that's why we hire young interns who are really sharp, and so they can help us old guys navigate sometime. But it's still Raj, about standing on that stage, getting on that stage, and lighting them on fire.
You know, I look at somebody like Billy Strings, yeah, and he's just, but I mean, he built it from the ground up, one brick at a time, and so he has an audience base that is so solid. He'll work forever. I mean,
Yeah.
sort of like Grateful Dead. I mean, it was the same. They weren't about making hits. They were about packing or selling tickets and packing the place. And they had this massive following, and he has this massive following too. One of my former students and his father are Trevor Shepich. Trevor was he's a terrific guitar player, and he's a big Billy Strings fan, and so he used to take his guitar and sit in the audience and play while just with him and his dad, they just sit there and make music while they were waiting for the show to start. And so he met Billy and hung out with Billy a little bit. So Billy brought him up on stage and had him play 2 or 3 songs. And his dad got it all on video. And he hung right in there. And I mean, he was able to hold his own at 16 years old. And basically Billy just says, "Okay, Trevor, let her rip," and just basically got out of the way and let the kid play. But he was setting in the band. I mean, setting in with the band, and they just really tore it up. And I thought, everybody in that audience, if they weren't a big Billy Strings fan at that point, they became one. Yeah, that was, because how can you not like the guy for doing something like that? And plus, he's extraordinarily talented. So I think that it's probably going to be more the model there.
Well, I mean, and you got to give kudos. Have you had Glenn on the program?
No, and I need to.
My God, get Glenn Brown on the program. He's half responsible for that.
Yeah.
Seriously, producing Billy and producing them,
Yeah,
engineering them. I mean, Glenn's genius.
Yeah.
So
he really is.
But Yeah, you should have him on. That'd be a good
That's
conversation.
good call. Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably need to get a hold of him
You should
some.
get the showdown, get Vermetti on there, get Joey on there, or
Cardenas, yeah, somebody. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you know.
I know all those guys, of course. So how has in the last 40 years, how has Nashville evolved? How's the music has changed quite a bit. I mean, I know that you were with Mickey Gilley, and you also spent time with Joe Diffie and Pam Tillis, and um, oh, I'm forgetting a name now. But
Well, I was Lori Morgan's
Lori
music
Morgan,
director for 18
yeah.
years, but um, I
By
mean,
the
it's evolved. It's just gotten the rock edge, and I don't know. There's a lot of players, man. If there's, it's just, it's. They're coming in 100 a day. Okay, 100 a day, people a day coming into town.
That's scary. A little side thing. If you happen to run into Lori Morgan, I saw her video with the Beach Boys singing "Don't Worry, Baby," and I just,
Is that not great?
oh my God, that is my all-time favorite version of that song. I don't
Yeah,
care about anybody else, anything else.
yeah,
She owns that song, and
yeah,
sort of like Johnny Cash doing "Hurt." As far as I'm concerned, that's his song from now on.
yeah.
That's her song. So that was great. That was great.
Rod, she worked with Sinatra. She worked with Johnny Mathis, Andy Williams. I mean, she was her choreographer was Michael Jackson's guy. God, what was his name? I can't escapes me, of course, right now. But I mean, Lori was Lori was she could go head to head with anybody in the studio or live. Never sounded bad. Never sang. She was world class. Truly world. She was. I had to just come off the road. I just had to come off the road and get my company cranking
Yeah,
a little
sure.
bit hotter.
Uh huh.
And but she was a treat. She's still. We're well. I got a song on her new record.
Do you
Who
really?
knew? Yeah. I
Awesome.
mean,
Good for you.
I just found out.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's all good, brother. So,
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. There are times, and I tell this to Barb, there are times when I just look at myself in the mirror and say, I can't believe I get to do this. It's just, it's not like it hasn't had its tribulations and difficulties, but, I'm sitting here at the end of things. Let's not kid ourselves. I haven't totally played out my string, but I can see the end of her from here. So, and and I look back and I go, yeah, okay, I do it again. We are very lucky that we get to do this. And so that's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. It's just fortunate. And then now this. I mean, I stopped performing in 20 because of some health issues, and so I don't perform anymore. I'll record some stuff for my students, but I don't go out live anymore, and stop doing weddings, and I haven't done. I was never did a lot of concerts, half a dozen a year on a busy year, but now it's like my little home studio here, and I teach and I do my podcasts, and I have a Patreon page, and I crank out music for that every week. I'm cranking out new arrangements for solo guitar and ukulele and things like that. And and that kind of keeps me, like I said, keeps me out of my wife's hair so that she doesn't smother me in my sleep. That's a problem with, you spend so much time working, your whole adult life working, and then all of a sudden you're not. And she's going, "Are you still here breathing?
yeah,
Don't you have some place to go?"
yeah, it's funny, Raj.
Well, my friend,
Well, you're a world class player, man. You always were. You always worked hard, and you're at the top of your game. Whether you want to say that you're not, you're at the top of your game right now. You might not be able to play the 30-second note runs like you used to, but as far as soul and everything else, you know that.
yeah,
You're at
yeah,
the
I play.
top of
I
your
play
game
good.
right
I play
now.
good. My biggest problem is, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but I have a bit of a heart condition. I've had it for 20 plus years, and they've got me on some meds, and the meds cause my hands to tremble from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been checked. It's not Parkinson's or anything like that. It's strictly the meds. And some days it's worse than others. And some days I can sit here and play and I don't have a problem at all. Next day, it all goes, And so you just can't you can't be like that and try to have a performance career.
Right.
And but I can sit here and play. I mean, on the good days I can play, I can kick some stuff out, and I can help my students. And so that's pretty much what it's about. So
It's awesome.
Mark, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this. I know you're a busy guy. I'm gonna have to throw some super glue under your shoes to stop you for a minute to do this. So anyway, but I am going to say goodbye now, and thank you so much once again for doing this.
God bless you, Raj.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for hanging out with us. I really appreciate you. And please feel free to leave a comment or two. I enjoy keeping in touch. If you or someone you know plays guitar or ukulele, you should drop by my website, www.rogerhumphrey.com. There's a lot of free stuff in the resources tab, and some free video tips also. You don't have to subscribe. It would be nice if you did. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you real soon, again on Creative Conversations with Roger Humphrey.